So what you demonstrated, which I thought was good, you were talking about getting outcomes. So the question is, with what you demonstrated, who within your customer would buy from you? What would they have on their business card as their title? What actual person problem are you solving there? Who's your customer?
I'm working with quite a few facility managers, facility management, asset managers, property managers. A lot of our clients actually are some of the advisories that are going out to really help their clients go on the digital transformation journey. Because again, what you see is just a very, very small step on getting started on the journey to help be able to articulate, based on your business needs, what are the capabilities of my existing building? Before I go out and spend a fortune, I should need really baseline and understand where I'm at, identify what those gaps are, and then what those priority capabilities are, so I can make more informed decision around what I should really be prioritizing from a technology investment and for the best bang for the buck. So this is, a lot of the advisories are very interested in using this because it can help them get started, and then the business then is taking the client on that digital transformation journey.
Got you. Thank you. And is it asset owners or is it facility management organisations that come in and just manage the building for the asset owner?
Great question, because the built environment, particularly from that respect, with the operators, the occupiers, the owners, it's a very, very complex dynamic. We're working with all of them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get very proactive tenants that actually really want to go away. They've got a rocket ship. They've got this building with so much digital capabilities. A lot of the time, it's not about showing them what they need to buy. It's actually showing them how data is flowing through their building, so they understand what they can actually do, what's actually been collected, what's in our data lake now, what we can actually manage and analyze. Hugely. I think, and hopefully I was able to articulate to people there that this is, using these methodologies and this technique, that it is able to give you some sort of, dials and dashboards around where your existing capabilities reside and what you should be prioritizing. Right. Opens people's eyes, I think, into what's there. Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, that's a question for Ross. Ross, we're such a very interesting project. It's supported by UCD and it's on predictive estimating tool. Okay, and what we're learning is the supply chain. Okay,
yeah.
So what can the supply chain do? So what we're trying to do is we design housing studies. Okay, so we have the data. We're going to mine this data to predict the building so we can price it properly. But my question to you is, the idea is to get QS more certainty, right? Because the barrier to modern construction, people not use QS, right? Yeah. It's risk. Yeah. It's a risk, right? So what do we need to do to give you that certainty? And all the LCS will come with it, but what do we need to do?
I think we were in a conference about 4 years ago, Alan, and you put the question to me, with MMC now, does that mean that the QS just has one price for that off-site manufactured material, The reality is maybe from the client side, that's what they're looking at. But in order to be able to price that in the manufacturing component, you need to be able to understand the materiality of the component you're manufacturing.
Now, it will be say 20% of your budget cost. Just say it's 20%.
Yeah.
But how does that commit your system to properly analyze it?
Yeah.
Because you understand what's too expensive. That, to be honest, nobody has a clue.
No. Because you can't analyze like for like in that, because if you're going off-site manufacturing versus traditional model, you're going, well, the level of detail you have here is this, the level of detail you have here is maybe a singular price. You can't analyze whether the scope is identical, what the impacts of both components will be. All you're evaluating it on is a total price level, and that's not good enough in order to be able to look at what the real value of MMC is, like time, quality, etc., etc.
But perhaps so just to interject, the reality is the buildings will cost more in the future to build, but they may cost less over the life cycle. So, for example, if you think I think the intersection, I think modern MMC, there's nothing new about it, but it has come at an interesting time. We can see the casualties in the industry and so on. There's always question about pipeline. But not to talk about kits and parts. I think if you can have repeatability,
that's your economies of scale,
economies of scale will bring the costs down, and you'll deliver the projects quicker. But what frustrates me about quantity, and sorry about this now, and
your one as well,
and I've tackled this for years. We create all these wonderful models, structural models, structural engineering models, M&E models, and architectural models. Surely, whether it's Autodesk or Bentley or whoever it is, surely the system can give us the quantities more accurately. And then we can go in. I don't believe in this sort of automation and machines doing all the work. But going in and then interrogating it. So the quality surveyors don't model.
No.
We need to be able to work with models from day one and interrogate. You can quickly do a cross check of the global quantity, can't you?
It's information. If companies QS practices are remodeling the model, stop right now. If you have a Revit license, stop paying it. You don't need it. You're processing information produced by other stakeholders. You are not redoing that information. So
but auto-estimating is possible. I believe.
It is to a certain degree, but more standardization is needed. Yeah. More standardization in order to be able to automate that processing. And the thing about auto-estimating is that it needs to be linked to real-time accurate information from the marketplace, not a price index or a price database that is retrospective from historical information because of inflation and challenges. We know the war, we know COVID, all of that. So that dynamic pricing component becomes a challenge, because it really needs to be connected to real time in the industry, whether it's commodities or whatever.
I'm just trying to make it easier for the QS, right? Because the QS is the barrier. Is to make it easier to give them that certainty. You can click a button, and I know it's whatever 1 million scribbles possible. Whatever it is. Do you have those exact quantities? It's structural steel or whatever.
Yeah. But I'll just talk a little bit about our process in what we do in Cosmos, because we use models. We don't 2D measure anymore. We can't. Our team don't have the capability. Our team are all digital and kind of model experts, but in terms of information. So part of our process is qualification of information, making sure that we're designing to the standards we've put in place during the process of design, not at the gateway back end and taking models and going, these are no good. We're getting into the conversation right up front, and then we're having weekly discipline one-to-ones with the disciplines to make sure that the models and information they're producing is in accordance with what everybody has signed up to. What that's doing is qualifying the information in microbytes. So by the time you get to the end of the gateway, you've already qualified the information with them. You're not sitting down and starting from scratch with your request for information and having 150 questions back to the design team. You've already had that discussion. You're already in the room with them. And until we understand that process, we're never ever going to get models that will be quality enough for us to be able to use, because contractually, design teams don't have to deliver models, they deliver drawings. And the purpose of models is to generate drawings and clash detection, not for the information to be used by someone else. So it's process orientated, actually, in terms of that quality management.
You have a couple more questions there. I have one for Alan before we go. But anyway,
Maybe I was going to put the question to yourself, Michael, but I think Ross, in your last answer there, I think you'd answer this as well. Both of you are really making the point about the importance of data sets. I'm an architect. I kind of work at early stage design with clients. I understand what the client wants, what the client needs to deliver. What we're seeing happen a lot now is that the client can't see the return on investment for front loading all this work into the models, paying the premium that the contractor will apply. When we're trying to save costs here, you're taking out Jacobi data, you're just not doing this process. We see it internally. We've recently done PSI training on 650. We talked about it, we realised there are teams within the office that just don't do it. It's depending on the typology. If it's a data centre, it is a lot more prevalent, but residential buildings, we're not really seeing it as much, because there's time, there's cost on our side as well. The client is no longer willing to really pay for it because they've looked at it a couple of years ago. They haven't seen it, so they feel like they're burnt a little bit. So, long-winded sort of question.
He's got the answer on the tip of his tongue. I can hear it building.
I suppose, and it's a question for both of you, really. But how do you now convince the client that now is the right time to start looking at properly collecting this data? You mentioned that I suppose the running cost might be let's say, but they're always going to be looking for
You're not exactly. You're not going to convince a client. Actually, you won't be able to convince them, because at the moment we only look at capital. We don't look at whole life cycle. The only thing that's going to convince the client is efficiency. When you get to a point where it becomes cheaper for you to work in a BIM data driven process than it does from a traditional process. So right now we're going through pain in the Irish industry, and the only thing that's going to offer the solution to that is the government standards that are coming out. As long as they're policed, we're going to get an economies of scale in the industry where most of the consultants and design teams will be working towards standards that are implemented through the government standards across all government projects. And then we'll see, and it's the same thing we've seen in Denmark. The first mandate in Denmark was 07. That's 16, 17 years ago. They've gone through all that pain. No one talks about whether there's value or not anymore. No one uses AutoCAD. It's all Revit-based or model-based designing, even from inception. And even at that, we're getting into automation. So we're not there yet in our conversation. And it's only strategic clients that will understand that because they've experienced from other markets. Most clients won't understand it until it becomes something that they see value in, which is at the moment it's price.
It's code, it's a regulation, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's interesting.
have to do it.
It's interesting because there's a handoff. You're talking about design. A lot of what I'm talking about is operational facilities and management, and then the running of that building once you've handed it over, right? And you saw there Killian as well using the BIM model as a key part for them to be able to build on that.
Yeah.
And really, for operational purposes, you can't manage what you're not measuring.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to show. We can easily show our clients. I mean, again, this is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because it can articulate and show them that they can have all this analytical capability in the back end, but if they're not collecting the data at the front end, then they're not going to be able to get the benefit.
It's only relevant then for owner-occupiers because the occupiers of the building are the owners as well. So they're thinking about operational when they're building. But for most investors, what they're doing is they're leasing it out. But I think the biggest thing that's going to affect the industry is ESG, actually, that environmental social governance. Yeah. And so even the tenant will have a requirement to understand their carbon impact on the building they're renting.
Yep.
And so they're going,
see that already. I've got tenants just coming to us directly to do this.
And so the tenants are going, give me the data, and then to the property owner. Property owner's going, I don't know what you're talking about. I'll go to facilities. Facilities going, what are you talking? We've only a clipboard, So now it's going to affect the entire supply chain over the next couple of years. In reality, yeah.
Maybe one more question. I think. If it's a quick question, a short question.
It will be a quick question.
Okay.
It's for us. It's about you are talking about only quantity survey, and quantity survey has to be accurately. You collecting data and from projects and train your models and get with your result. All know that AI never been 100% accuracy. Even ChatGPT reading that little mistake. How can you rely on this? Otherwise, we will not be just use distribution. That's it.
Yeah, I would say that estimating is not an accurate science either. The result isn't, everything is moving, and estimates are based on information produced by other stakeholder groups. All you're doing is collecting information and applying a component to that to give you a result. So if any of that information is poor, bad, or indifferent, your result is going to be also poor, bad, or indifferent. And so I don't think we'll ever get to a stage where we'll have 100% accuracy because there's too much human impact on the project delivery. So until we digitize the entire workflow and use robotics and it becomes full machine implementation, there will always be inaccuracies in what we do. That's the reality of it.
All models are wrong, but some are useful.
Yeah, correct. That's critical. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's adding value as acting as a guide.
Yeah.
These are just neural networks. How
Sorry,
scale?
Sorry. Go on, Alan. I want to finish
Actually,
in 2 minutes, but please.
these aren't intelligent machines. There's no intelligence, right? These are just terminologies we apply to calculus running at scale, right? So you're never going to get it in any way 100% accurate. And that goes back to whether you're using a linear regression, logistic regression, whatever it is, you'll get within a range of kind of something that you can apply and be useful, but you still need human validation. That doesn't mean you're ever going to get anything accurate.
Was there a question here? Maybe one more, and then we might. People can mingle then at lunch. We're going to get a good lunch in.
I suppose the first comment is Alan and Sandra, well done on insertion of that slide. I think it was great. I was falling asleep at some point, but that certainly was. I think it was.
Yeah, I won't get a job at IBM.
There was a brilliant start.
She left the room and a whole lot. Like,
I thought it was a brilliant start.
I don't think that's the last I've heard of that either. I circled back to it.
I suppose the good point is that people like myself, non-technical, it's important to know what you're getting involved in, and the point early on, making business decisions to look at tools and not suited the business at the start can be very dangerous. A lot of risk expenditure. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Alan, as well, you said there were very little uptake from construction professionals.
I'm
interested to know what your thoughts on why we can do to attract more and what might be the reason.
I couldn't tell you what the reason is, right? I'm not a construction expert, right? I'm an AI guy. I've learned more about construction off Ross in the last 20 minutes than I ever did before, right? So I couldn't tell you the reasons, but it just, like, there's the sense I get, right, especially within Ireland, is that the construction industry, you're just trying to keep the train on the tracks, right? There's so many jobs, you're trying to just get a job done, you're trying to do things, and then you're like, okay, phew, that's over, okay, on to the next one. There doesn't seem to be that much sort of looking back and saying, okay, how can we improve? How can we do better? And the other side of it, well, it's the sense I get. I don't know, I don't work in the construction industry, but it doesn't feel like you maybe appreciate or education as much as maybe other industries do, or maybe as much as it would be useful, right? So it doesn't. I know people who are electricians and people who work in construction. Like I work in software. There's €1,000 wellness or sorry education benefit the company gives us to go to any course you want, right? I've got upskilling all throughout the year. It's embedded into the culture of the industry to train up, right? And just as an anecdotal thing, a friend of mine is a foreman for a major electrical company, and he'd be doing the big speeches to all the staff one morning. He was telling me he had to tell the staff, hey guys, show the apprentices things. Train them up, get them up to a skill, otherwise we'll have no electricians left. And he told me that. My mind was blown. It's like, that just isn't. I've got mentors, I've got managers in my job. It's part of their job description to mentor and show other people things. It's so maybe a cultural piece, or it's just outdated, but I don't know the answers, but the anecdotally.
Might bring things together. And continue discussions over lunch. Can we show our appreciation to Mike?
Hi, Colin. Hi, buddy.
I think we were back at 2:10. We've a live stream coming in from the States, so you can't miss Kim on the Moon. It's called more for you.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll see you after lunch. Thank you.
Bring home.
That's
fun. That's fun, yeah.